Hey guys, let's have some fun today. So recently, there are two YouTubers that I watch and follow, and they happen to both mention this Singaporean photographer called Nguyen. And I thought, like, oh yeah, it's been years since I've seen his photos on Instagram because, algorithm. So even though I followed him and I follow his account, I haven't seen his photos in a long while. I thought this would make a fun video for me to head out into a normal, boring, ordinary Singaporean neighborhood and borrowing the lens from Nguyen. Today I am gonna do a little photo walk, but I'm also gonna get lunch and I want to check out this matcha place that is apparently under one of the HDBs in Bedok. I'm trying to shoot as I go, but I'll be honest that I'm a little bit hungry, so I am quite in a rush to get to my lunch spot. His photos have this very characteristic kind of pastel look to it. That's number one, the pastel look. And then number two, it's this very ordinary moments, but having this fairy tale vibes that you almost kind of see when you watch those Japanese anime. That little bit of charm, nostalgia, almost fairy tale point of view is what I also wanted to achieve during this photo walk. Good thing I was sunblocked today. Very much needed in this heat, my goodness. I finally got my matcha. Trying to find a spot to enjoy it. It was very crowded because the owner is alone. Back home and editing. I know one of my favorite things about shooting on a Fujifilm is that I don't have to do any post-processing, but I think for this particular photography style, I just couldn't get that same look in camera. Yeah, so I do feel like this kind of look or this kind of style does require some post-processing. So the first thing I really had to tweak was the shadows and the highlights. So I did try to adjust the shadow and highlights in the Fujifilm itself using the recipe function, but then it just couldn't go as far. The shadows couldn't be raised as much or the highlights couldn't be brought down as much as I would like it to be. In Singapore in particular, it was very hard to achieve this look. If it was in LA, it was in Japan, it was in Australia, it's much easier to achieve that look without too much manipulation of the photos. But in Singapore, kind of different. So something I really needed to push up was the shadows and then to bring down the highlights so that we could bump up the overall exposure of the image and not have the highlights get blown out. Next up was the color balance. So I struggled with it at first. I didn't want to go exactly into the same pink tones as Nguyen. I thought let's try something different. So I thought maybe giving it a yellowish color would be something fun to play with. I just couldn't get it right. I couldn't get it to look the way I wanted to. So here back in Lightroom, I was adjusting the color balance to my preference. And I don't know if it was because I was a bit hungry, so I was trying to rush through the process, which doesn't help when you're trying to try something new, right? So in the end, I did two sets of images, one that has a little bit more of the yellow dreamy vibes, and then afterwards there were another set of photos that I think actually suited the kind of pink tones more, and so I went with that. I gave those images a slightly more pink color. And I think one of the things that Theo Crawford mentioned about Nguyen was that he felt he was super curated and very disciplined in his aesthetics, which resulted in this very visually cohesive look on his Instagram feed. And so I tried to do that as well, to be very curated and very tight in the kind of photos I selected, the kind of shots that I'm trying to get. Like, for example, sometimes I take two shots of the same look, but I really wanted this kind of introvert's dream in Singapore kind of a vibe, if you know what I mean. So I do think that part of being a good photographer is really knowing how to curate and cull through your own images. And so this is the final gallery, and I would like to name the first batch of images a summer yellow, and we have the second batch of images that are like spring pink. So in conclusion, as I was shooting it, because it's something quite new, a new style of shooting in terms of the post-processing and the color profiles, I was kind of doubtful that my pictures would actually turn out even remotely close to what I thought it could be, or whether it could even achieve this dreamy pastel quality. I was having a lot of trouble getting the look right in camera itself, so it's hard to imagine if I got it right when it needed a lot more post-processing in Lightroom. I was half preparing myself that this would be a failed attempt video, but I think that after doing all the edits and stuff, I think it looks not too bad. I think I managed to pull certain photography principles and certain artistic style from Nguyen's photography as inspiration, and managed to photograph and kind of curate my own set and story of dreamy Singapore. Would you try out these pastel looks in your own street photography? Let me know what you think. Drop it in the comments below. And for more photography and that creative introvert life, drop a like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye guys!